Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of I Am the Hammer, the show in which I talk about all things Grey Knights. I know, it's been a while, but I've been a busy boy, and today I'm going to be filling you in on what I've been up to and also focusing on how we go about preparing for tournaments. Let's get started. So, if you remember in my last episode, I spoke about the WTC lists and my sort of thoughts on them. So, I'm going to quickly recap those sorts of things and how that went down. Then I'm going to talk about things to consider when preparing for a big tournament such as the London Grand Tournament and how I've been going about doing that with reference to two quickfire tournament reports. So I had two events recently. I took two different lists just to trial things out, and I'm going to feed back on that. Then I'm going to show you the next list I'm going to be trying, which I'll be using in a battle report soon. And then finally, I've got a updated matrix because I think I've now been able to add a bit more data to that. So hopefully that'll be interesting for you. So, takeaways from the World Team Championships. Now, it's really important, first of all, to understand the kind of the basics of teams when you're thinking about how to analyze the data. Quite simply, you have to take everything with a pinch of salt, right? You could have the most wonderful singles list, and it could get paired into five bad matchups, and that player could score badly. Meanwhile, you could have the complete opposite elsewhere. The best teams are allocating their list to do what that list is designed to do, and other teams won't manage that. You've also got a skill disparity there, so the best teams will just run over the weaker teams, even if the matchup is good or bad. So you do have to think about this a bit more objectively. You can't just go, "Oh, these were the best performing lists, therefore they are the best lists," because every list is designed to do a job, as I'll cover now. As you would expect, the vehicle list, so that's kind of the six Dread Knight lists. Some had Canis, some didn't. They performed the best in terms of points being scored. Okay, so the argument being that the team's gone, right, you need to go get us big points. We're going to put you into these particular matchups. And, some of the teams managed to do that. You look at Iceland, look at Poland, look at Australia. They were putting up some pretty consistently good scores with who they were paired into. Having looked at who they played into, I kind of picked those lists. The trends were that they kind of played into World Eaters, CSM, Tyranids, Chaos Knights. Those were good matchups. Those were the ones where they were able to get big scores. It was noticeable that the Australian list did get absolutely smashed by Space Wolves of Poland. I think it was like 20-0 or 119 or something like that. It was brutal. So there is that. If you want to watch this style of list being played, if you go to War Games Live and you find the game where it's Australia versus I can't remember now. Australia versus someone, and it's the Grey Knights versus Ironstorm match, and it's a really weird game to watch because for three turns the Grey Knights look like they're in a world of trouble, and then the camera kind of goes away and starts just covering the general matchup between the two teams, and then somehow the Australian win that game. I'm not quite sure how. But yeah, I must admit, watching that just reinforced to me how I don't like that style of list. But hey, if you like it, good for you. I hope you're getting all those big wins. Um, Going to the more general style of list, then, as you would expect, they scored consistently well. There weren't really any negative blowouts, barring one I'll mention. But generally, they just scored well on the upper side of a draw, or getting a small win. They did manage to get some big blowout wins. In my last video, I spoke about the French list, which Northern Ireland were also using. The Northern Ireland guy came like 44th out of all 320 players. The French guy came 115th. They were able to get like 18 2 wins and that sort of thing. They never lost big. In my last video, I also highlighted Sam Nash's Island list, and he did reasonably well. Kind of, again, a very drawish style, which is exactly what that list is designed to do. And then we have Chris Radford, who had that really cool list with no Dread Knights. And Chris had a pretty good event, again, scoring in those mid kind of regions. Unfortunately for Chris, in the final game of the event, when they played Italy, he got put into Thousand Suns. I'm not quite sure why. We all know that Thousand Suns is a bad matchup for Grey Knights, unless you're jam-packed with 3 librarians. Chris was not jam-packed with 3 librarians. So yeah, he lost 19-1 in that. I think Magnus got a bit lucky with a charge or something, but I'm surprised that matchup was allowed to happen. Maybe Chris knows something I don't. Thinks the matchup's a bit better. But yeah, that was his one blowout. Which was a shame, wasn't it? But may that list rest in peace, because of course Purgation Marines now can't flame it indirect. I know some people are talking about the side cannons, because they can still shoot indirect. You can just put them on like UKTC terrain. You can just put them top floor of the ruin and just fire a bunch of AP2 from plunging fire, becomes AP1 because of the cover. Well, I don't know, it's something, right? So yeah, there is that out there. But yeah, so Grey Knights didn't take the world by storm, but a lot of teams used them to effect. Obviously, France won the event, and so they had Grey Knights. Australia did well; they had Grey Knights. So yeah, Grey Knights in a good place in the team's environment. And if you've got team's event coming up, I would highly recommend them. Okay, so preparing for the LGT. I have done a video called Warhammer for Dummies. We did it a very long time ago, and it was kind of preparing for a tournament. It's still just as valid as when I did it like 2 years ago. So if you're kind of new to tournaments and you want to learn how to do tournaments, I'll pop the link in the description. You can check that out. I think my opinion, it's a good video, all encompassing on how to go about preparing for an event, and things to do at the event, and how to handle post-event as well. So check that out. In terms of this particular tournament, so for those of you who don't know, the London Grand Tournament is the event of the calendar season for the UKTC here in England. It is a massive event. They're always trying to get it up to like 1,000. I think the goal last year was to beat the LVO for size. Whether they'll manage it this year, we'll see. But it is huge. I have an outside shot at getting ranked number 1 in the UKTC for Grey Knights. I'm currently like 5th or 6th. And if I do better than the 4 people above me, I've got a good shot. If I go 4-1 or 5-0 and they don't, they go like 3-2, there's a chance I can grab number 1. So, it's a nice target to aim for. I feel a bit more confident if I've been playing Grey Knights all season. I've had a couple of dud events. It is what it is, right? So, you're preparing for an event. How do you go about it? This is one of my favourite phrases at the moment, in terms of practicing, and it's so important, I think. You need to leave your ego at the door when you're preparing for an event. You are trying to learn, you're trying to experiment, you're trying to trial different things, right? So if you are going, oh no, I need to play my best list at all times, just so I can beat my mates down the club on a Tuesday, are you actually learning from that? Is that going to help you in the long run? Does it matter if you beat your mate? If you're playing a friend and they fail a 4-inch charge, which is super crucial in the game, and you're like, oh yeah, I managed to scrape the win because you failed that 4-inch charge. Did that help you? Did it really help you in the long run? Or is it better to go, no, you say you make that 4-inch charge because most of the time you want, and I want to have my back against the wall, right? So you need to be not worrying about your results when you are preparing. You need to be thinking about processes, not outcomes. Like, how is this helping me? So try out those different units, get a feel for it. Does it work? Try out different combos. That does not mean go try a completely fresh 2,000 points every time. Have a block of things that you like, and then be trying to go, right, what small changes can I make and adjustments? Is there a particular unit I want to give a good go? And you'll see that like when I talk through my next two events, you'll see how I've kind of gone about doing that. It's really important to be getting reps on the terrain format, especially something like UKTC, where you're gonna know, you can look, you can set it up, you can work out what you need to be doing, you can plan your deployments, you can work out what style works best. Get reps on that terrain format. There is no way you should be going to a big event where you want to be doing well. An event like this, where everything is out there already that you can use, you shouldn't be surprised at all about the mission or anything like that. You should have got all of those reps in. Now, a lot of people talk about how when you're going to a tournament, like know what the meta is in your area. Now, something like the LGT, that's kind of a waste of time, right? There's going to be 800 players there. You're going to play 5 of them. There's going to be, at least 10 of every army there, kind of thing. So who knows what you're going to play? It is a complete fluke, right? Even if half the field was one particular faction, which it won't ever be, then there's still a great chance of you kind of like not playing that, right? So have an eye though. Think about what you could play and just be prepared for it. So if you know that you've got a really horrible weakness to a particular army, then you've got a decision to make, right? You go, do I just gamble that I'm not going to play that army, or do I try and factor it in and add something? So for me, it's been, do I get Drago in just so I've got something for the demon matchup? And you know what, Drago does work in all the other matchups as well. Okay, so it's just about thinking about that really. And what in an ideal world, you wouldn't go to an event, play against an army that you've never played before. I'm sure we've all been there, right? The first time you play against an army compared to the second time you played against an army, it's such a different experience. You understand the damage output of them, you understand what your damage is into them, you know how they're going to play, you know their tricks, all those sorts of things. If you can, just have an understanding of as many of the matchups as possible, just having played into it kind of like once before. It could be make or break really, because what you don't want to do is lose a game that you think you should have probably won just because you didn't necessarily get it quite right, as I'll mention in the tournament report at some point. So yeah, those are some general things, especially for when preparing for a big event like the LGT. So, Grey Knights. So I've done 2 tournaments recently, not massive ones. This was like a 30-man tournament. What did I want to try in this list? Well, I wanted to see what life was like with no purifiers. I'd only ever played with purifiers. I was thinking, well, that is basically the same cost as Drago and 5 Terminators and then losing something else. It's very similar cost, isn't it? So I wanted to try that. I swapped that for the purifiers, and this was the list I ended up with. So I had Drago with 5 Terminators. I brought back the Brother Captain. I just like my sustained guys. Don't hate me. I know some of you are scared about AP1. Trust me, it's not as bad as you think. I had 2 units of strikes, 1 unit of interceptors. I had 3 NDK. That was bumping that up. I've played with 2 or 1 recently. Well, not 1, but I played with 2 recently. I was just like, let's see what 3 are like. And then I had the Calidus Assassin. Okay, so going into this event, I'm mainly looking to see how do I feel about Drago with 5 Terminators, and how do I feel with only having 1 unit of Interceptors. And then is this Calidus Assassin? Can I get value out of this Assassin? Okay, so how did I do? Well, this was one of the most ridiculous events I've ever been to in terms of results. If I was playing teams, I actually went undefeated. As it was, I ended up with 1 loss, 1 win, and 2 wins and 2 draws. Really stupid. So I finished 9th out of 30. Game 1, I played into Grey Knight Mirror. This game came down to the fact that he went first to the frayed 5 Paladins and a Grandmaster into my deployment zone to kill my Calidus Assassin for Assassinate. He only just did it. I failed my re-roll for a Pinvun on the last second. And I was like, that's fine. I'll go and kill these Paladins and then I'll work my way up the board. It was fine. It was take and hold. Problem was, I got absolutely nowhere near killing these paladins. I shot everything into them. I even wasted Drago's. I picked him up, dropped him down. I wasted his 6-inch charge to get into them, so I'd killed like 1 inch shooting. And yeah, I just whiffed again. These paladins sat there. He then put more stuff in my deployment zone. And the problem was, whilst I was trying to clear out my deployment zone, he had Canis Rex at the back. He had taken the midboard, and he was just ticking up taken holds whilst I was getting 5s. And it came right down to the end, and I nearly tabled him. He had like 2 units left at the end. I had most of my army left, to be honest with you. But I just got massively behind on primary, and I hadn't remotely considered a secret mission. So that was probably the main thing. So I should have taken a secret mission. I would have won. But as it was, the score was only that close because I managed to get sabotage and containment final turns. That was 12 secondaries, which caught me up. So that's why it was so close. But yeah, hey, that's how it goes. I didn't get my game plan right. I shouldn't have sat in my deployment zone turn 1, just trying to kill his paladins. I think probably should have pushed out and caused problems for him as well. Game 2, I played into CSM. It was Soul Forge Pact, or whatever it's called, the shooty one. I felt pretty safe in this game. Drago went down a flank and sort of dealt with a Forge Fiend. Him and 5 Terminators held up half his army, which meant that he then split his forces, and I was able to deal with it kind of intermittently. And I was never worried in this game. Should be said at this point, Drago failed his 6-inch charge first time of asking, both times. So round 1 and round 2 he failed, but he did make it on the CP reroll. Round 3, I played into Imperial Guard for the first time ever. I played like 100 games of 10th. Never played into Guard. Ridiculous. Lots of tanks, lots of infantry. I actually feel like I played this game really well, considering turn 1 I went second and I went for a Drago charge where he would kill a Scout Sentinel, wrap up a tank, lock down an area, feeling pretty good. He failed his charge, he failed his reroll charge, and was now unfortunately sat out in the open to enough that the entire Guard army shot into them and just killed them. I was like, oh no, so the Paladins marched out to the middle, started killing stuff. I killed all his infantry quite quickly, tagged a load of tanks, and just started causing problems. Alongside Drago messing up, my Dreadknights decided to leave their hammers at home and bring toy hammers. I think over the course of the game, I managed to get into about 5 combats with tanks with my Dreadknights, and I did the grand total of 2 damage the whole game with them. They were genuinely shocking. It was a bit of a joke, really. Very frustrating. And the game came down to I had a choice. I could either go for the win, and the win would entail me having to drop a Lehman Russ with 10 Paladins, which I didn't have CP for grenades and stuff like that. And Lehman Russ had 2 wounds left. So I needed to get 1 through. And the maths works out that I get through 6 wounds. So he has 6 2-ups to make because he would have had cover and with a CP reroll. So that was the maths. I decided to go against that and just take the draw. Round 4, I played into Dark Angels, and I really wanted to play this game because a big argument for taking the Grand Master is ignore Armor of Contempt. So therefore, it gives you a shot if you can manage to get past the cover. The Paladins can do work into Deathwing Knights because also the -1 damage. Inner Circle Companions are -1 to hit and be -1 to wound as well. Stuff. So I wanted to be like, can I get through this game even without the Grandmaster? And yeah, it was Terraform, and he kind of sat in the middle, terraformed. This was a really, really interesting game. I won't go into too much detail, but basically I was able to get Drago in the back corner into his Hellblasters. So his Hellblasters never shot over the course of the game. And then the Paladins failed a 6-inch charge into his Deathwing Knights in the middle, and he'd rapid ingress back down with the other unit of Deathwing Knights. So it was actually a massive fluke that I failed. It was probably the wrong call to charge. As it was, he then was worried about triggering my mist, so he went for a 9-inch charge on the other unit, failed that. These 3 or 4 Deathwing Knights came into my Paladins, I was able to kill them all. Meanwhile, my 3 Dread Knights somehow failed to kill 6 Inner Circle companions who I'd kind of tricked or baited out into getting out of their transport to charge my terraforming objective, then I'd miss this away. I was like, 3 Dread Knights will drop those guys, no problem. They did not. And yeah, it was a bit. I was hoping to clear that right flank a bit quicker. But I was down on primary, but I was also tabling him, so I just took the secret mission to get battle line in to his deployment zone, because I'd already killed his battle line and managed to scrape the 1 point win. But it was a bit of a fluke, it just came down to cards really. So I don't think I got that game quite right, frustratingly, but my opponent played it really well. So yeah, fun game. And this was the most ridiculous game. Black Templar Horde. So he had 2 units of 20 Primaris Crusaders, and he had 10 Terminators, and then a couple of tanks and stuff. Now, the way this game works is he goes into the middle, and I can't kill him. So it's Scorched Earth. So I sit scoring 5s, he sits scoring 10s. I take my secret mission, and it boils down to, can I score cards better than him, and can I score my secret mission? No, it's just how it was going to work. That's the whole game. I just don't think I can kill them, because as soon as I get into combat, he just then gets to put his whole army, starts moving towards my my deployment zone. I was playing against Connor, one of my teammates. We both kind of knew that was the case, and essentially, I choose my secret mission. And then what I've just done is I've struggled with where to put Drago for with his 5 Terminators for containment. So I've put it in his back corner, and then I've chosen a secret mission. At which point, Connor's like, he must have taken a secret mission to get Warlord on back corner. So he starts sending one of his Primaris Crusader bricks back towards his deployment zone to make sure that can't happen. I'm like, this is fine, because I've chosen the battle line one, and I just need to get a strike unit in his deployment zone. And then I'm suddenly like, wait a minute, a Primaris Crusaders battle line? I'm like, no. So we come down to this ridiculous situation where he goes, like, look, we're on turn 5. I've worked out if you score 8 on secondary, stop me doing my sabotage, and complete your secret mission, it's an 82 all draw. I'm like, okay, interesting. So I draw my cards. I get Area Denial, 5 points, and I get Defend Stronghold, 3 points. That makes 8. I'm like, look, Connor, my secret mission is I need to kill these Primaris Crusaders. I messed up a bit here. I just misread the card. So I then stick a Dread Knight up close to the Primaris Crusaders. I drop down 9 inches away of the Paladins, 9 inches away of the Strike unit, 9 inches away of another Dread Knight. Shoot into the unit, kill about 10. And then I'm going to start my charges. Dread Knight number 1, who's like 3 inches away. Roll a 6, he's in. Paladins, 9-inch charge. Roll a 10, they're in. Strike Marines, roll a 7, CP reroll. 9, they're in. Dread Knight, 9, they're in. Suddenly I'm like, oh my goodness. And they wipe the unit, and I managed to get the draw. Completely unfair, complete fluke. It's not a good matchup, but we play to our outs, don't we? So never give up, guys. In terms of the list, I think the list works fine. As you can see, it's very good at scoring in the 70s and 80s. As a teams list, I would highly recommend it. I think it's quite a good teams list. 3 Dread Knights are nice. It's a nice number to have. As always, they perform below average, but hey, who cares? Shout out to Oliver if you're listening. Oliver told me in my last comment, in my last video, that he knew I had no fucking clue what I was talking about when I said Dread Knights were a 5 out of 10. Well, I still think they're a 5 out of 10. I just don't think they perform consistently, but you have them for their potential output. And the fact that 3 kind of brings it together. But thanks for the positive feedback, Oliver. Right, so my next tournament, Cardiff Carnage, run by my dear friend Ed Watts. It was, needless to say, in Cardiff. 48 player event. Some really good players there, and also some newer tournament players there. For this event, I wanted to see what the big deal was about librarians. So I was really inventive, and I just took the France and Northern Ireland list just to see what I thought of it. So that's Drago with 10 Terminators, Librarian with Sigil with 5 Terminators, Solo Librarian, 3 units of 5 strikes, and 3 Nemesis Dreadnoughts. Okay, so this is the list that I said last time. I think if you're just getting into 40k, or just getting into Grey Knights, sorry, I would start here. It just does a bit of everything. It plays well. Personally, for me, it's really boring. Like, I found it a really boring list to play. I missed having more shooting. I'm not a fan of Drago of 10 Terminators being that hammer unit, because once you've done your thing, it gets stuck there in that place, and it doesn't have that option of dropping down somewhere else and doing good shooting. It doesn't have the sigil on it. Can't yeah. Considering how I like to play, it doesn't suit me. And I knew that after game one. But still, it was a fun event, and it was good to try things out. So how did my games go? Played into Custodes round one. It was fine. Custodies are slow. They as soon as they spread out, you just pick apart the board. You just keep killing a unit, and by the end, they've not got much left. You just focus on denying the primary, and you build up that points lead. So yeah, it was a bit of a rough game for my opponent. It was lovely, but it was just always going to be hard work. Like I said, like afterwards, like maybe you could have just def balled up and tried to focus on the triangle on like one side of the board. As soon as you start spreading out, I can pick units off. But the only other thing was that he did the classic, oh, I'm worried about triggering miss. I'll go for a line and load a 9-inch charges. When actually the focus needs to be more on where can I get in a space where I can make a miss one, but then have a good charge somewhere else. And that's just experience of the matchup, I think. So that was 95-48. Round two, I played into Drakari. Now, I've not played the Drakari matchup. I know it's a good matchup. There are a couple of mitigating issues here. Number one, I was playing into Jack Tight, good friend of the channel, good friend of mine. I drove him there and back, so we spent 8 hours in the car together over the weekend. He's also a phenomenal player. He just won Leeds Super Major last weekend. So yeah, the other thing was this board was custom terrain, and it was super, super dense. It was really hard to ever bring more than one unit to bear down a certain angle with your shooting. And Drakari can kind of hide behind the walls, get out, kill something, and hop back into their boat. And you can't. They've got so much stuff to screen you out. I was too aggressive in this. He kind of put the Cronus out into the middle of the board. I fell for the bait, killed them. He then came back, killed some of my stuff. My hit back was bad, and then he hammered me. And he traded up. I made no good trades. And I played turn 4 and 5 with Drago and 10 Terminators sat on his backfield, home field objective to score my secret mission. Otherwise, it would have been an even grosser kind of thing. I had to play a lot more defensively and cautiously in this game. I just got a bit too gung-ho. That's on me. I didn't feel like I played the game well. Round 3 was by far the most frustrating game I've had in a long time. Played into Death Guard. Now, Death Guard are obviously very slow, and I felt like my Dread Knights and Librarians were really good profiles. He had like loads of Terminators, and some Bloat Drones and Mortarion. I felt really confident in this game. And he moved out a bit. I then killed some stuff, and then he was like, right, okay, so I'm going to kill that, and I'm going to be here, and there. And I'm like, how are you doing this? I don't understand. And he was just basically just going for a bunch of 9-inch charges. I was like, oh, okay. He failed to kill a Dread Knight that he thought he would kill in shooting. Failed to kill a Dread Knight which he thought he would kill in combat. Like, the maths just didn't work out. He did kill a Dread Knight with these 2 super sorcerers or lords or virulence or something. You can once a battle, they can have a super gun. And 2 of those managed to drop a Dread Knight. I wasn't expecting that. The important thing was he made a 9-inch charge with Typhus and 3 Death Shroud onto my Librarian in the top corner, which knocked me down to 5 on primary, and that was really frustrating. And after 2 turns, I kind of realised that this game was going to come down to cards, but I was down 10 points on primary because he got 15 the next turn. I was like, it's fine. My army plays cards much better than Death Guard. I've basically contained his whole army to a third of the board. It'll be fine. And Death Guard just proceeded just to score all their cards. I did my best. I turned 4. I was like, Hail Mary, went for a bunch of 9-inch charges to try and knock him off. knock him down to a 10 off a 15, but just the shooting had gone well, but I didn't make any of the 9-inch charges, so that was that. Yeah, I lost 93-90. Very frustrating game. I'm fairly sure if I was to play it again, I would win. I don't think I should have lost. Is what it is. Round 4, I played into Custodies again. Logan again played really well actually, barring one mistake where he kind of gave me a Custodian guard unit unnecessarily, but the rest of it he played it really well. It's just a bad matchup for Custodies. So and it was burden of trust. So our primary was really low. Got to turn 4, I was like, why didn't I take a secret mission? Like, this is so stupid. Like, I only ended up on 34 in primary, so that score should have been a bit higher. That's kind of on me. And in round 5, I got to play to Sisters. A guy called Angus, who's been playing Sisters a very long time. Like, lovely guy, like really engaging to play with. You know, like really great at communication. It's just the sort of game you want. He's played at a good level. I've not played into Sisters really before, not like the proper scary one. And his was pretty scary. He made a couple of mistakes, I think. I think I played this game reasonably okay. I don't think I played it perfectly by any stretch of the imagination. But he gave me a bit too much of an in on my turn 2, so I kind of went over to his natural expansion objective and my 3 Dread Knights versus his tanks and Retributors, and we had a bit of a duel over the course of the game, but I was kind of, although I lost that duel eventually, it really held him up, and it meant I could play the rest of the board, including his deployment zone. The other thing he did was put Celestine and 10 Seraphim in the middle of the board to try and drag out Drago, and I was like, okay, I took the bait. They died. So yeah, it was an interesting one, but I managed to win that 90-63. And here was the classic case between singles and teams, because we got to my final turn and I had a choice. He'd taken a secret mission. I could deny the secret mission and I would have finished on 83, and the game would have finished 83 43, which is obviously a really big win. So I don't know, whatever, it's an 18-2 or something. But because, or I could choose to score my 2 cards, Assassinate and Cleanse, and give him his secret mission. He gets me 7 more points. I get to finish on 90, so I chose that one. And that's the difference between singles and teams, isn't it, really? So yeah, finished 13th. My takeaways from this list was that I want my Paladins back, and I just missed having that shooting and that fun with the sigil. How did the Librarians finish? I mean, one of them nearly one-shot a raider, did 10 wounds to a raider. I would have won a couple of times, won at quite an important moment in the Sisters game, which was annoying. Yeah, Librarians were alright. But as Jack Type said, you never know when they're going to fail. And it could be an important time when they fail. That's the problem with them. But yeah, I would recommend the list, especially if you're new to Grey Knights. So, what am I trying next? Well, it was Saturday night. I was 1 and 2. We were at the Chinese with the Welsh guys, and we were like, I was like, blah, blah, blah. I don't like Dread Knights. And this is the thing I find when I build a list at the moment. There are things I want. I want my Paladins. I want Drago and 5 Terminators. I want my Purifiers. I want my Dread Knights. Those are 4 things. You can't have them all. So I've played without Purifiers. I haven't played without Dread Knights yet, really. So, boom. Here we go. This list is Drago with 5 Terminators. Brother Captain, Sigil, with 10 Paladins, all with Psy Cannons. Crow's back with the 10 Purifiers. I've then got 1 unit of 5 Strikes, 2 units of 5 Interceptors, and I have 3 Librarians. No Dread Knights. Idea behind this list is the Librarians kind of fulfill that anti-tank. In theory, on an average day, it's 12 mortal wounds into a tank. Yeah. It's also good into Differing Knights, if you can get past the feeling pain mortal wounds or drag that out. Yeah, no Dread Knights though. Inescapable. I had actually had 2 Librarians and 2 units of Strikes, but I kind of switched that around to 3 Librarians, and also Inescapable Wrath is just there because I've got 15 points spare. And if you played the Thousand Suns matchup, the Librarian would then go with the 10 Paladins to give them the Feel No Pain against all the psychic stuff. That's the idea behind it. Okay. Or could go with the 5 Terminators, and Drago could shift across to the 10 Paladins. Like, there's options there, right? So yeah, I have got an RTT in Cambridge coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm going to run this list there. And I'm also filming a battle report with Tom into his Votan on TTS. It's going to be a bite-sized battle report. I'm going to be doing that in the next week or two. And I want to give this list another go because he's obviously going to have some vehicles. So I think it's good for me to try and test that list out. And yeah, because I want to know, like, can I play without Dread Knights and just have, stuff, scary stuff? It's got the 2 units of Interceptor, it's got the unit of Strikes, the Sticky. Does it work? I honestly don't know. That's what I want to find out. So I've got to get some practice games in. Right, updated Matrix. A few things to add here. I still feel CSM is fun, but it does come a bit down to skill, I'd say. So that's why I put it as drawish. Sisters, I feel, is drawish. What else have I updated? I've got Sisters twice in there. Oops. I've added in Dark Angels. It feels kind of all right because Marines are generally okay. Guard, I think, is fine, but they just have scoring. They have good shooting. You have to get it right, so I think it's a big win. Black Templar Horde, I know I drew it, but I shouldn't have. It's not good, guys. Custodes is a good one. Drakari is a good one, unless you just get outplayed, but I think it's still fine. And Death Guard, I think, is a good one. Again, I know I lost it, but yeah, I shouldn't have. So, we're talking objectively here, aren't we? So, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you could like and comment on this video, it would be much appreciated. Get it out into the ether, get all those other Grey Knight players watching it. If you haven't subscribed, half of you watching this video have not subscribed. Why not, guys? Why not? Just hit that button and make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. We do have a membership option for early access to staff, members-only videos. We even have coaching. A few of us who do coaching. So, hey, if you're new to Grey Knights and you're interested in some coaching, it's £30 a month for TTS games, calls, and that sort of thing. And we have a Discord, very active Discord. Come check it out. It's got like over 450 people on it. It's busy every day. Always looking for TTS games, people are. Next time, I'll obviously going into part 2 of my preparing for LGT. I will tell you how my RTT went, and I guess I'll just tell you what my LGT list is. So, yeah, very exciting times. But as always, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Love you, Oliver. Look forward to another comment from you. Take care.